Shabbat Shalom, Internet. He-bros, she-bros. That's a new one. There's somebody here off camera, which is good. There's a brother here. So if you see me doing this, it's not because I'm imagining things. Cool. My Shalomi homies and my He-bros. I'm going to get a cough drop. We're in Exodus 2:2? No, 23:24 this week. These ones are special. They are. They're the super special ones. I've gone to the doctor for the cough because everybody keeps telling me the cough's going to kill me. It could legitimately be a chemtrail cough, which is funny because according to the doctor, I'm probably allergic to something in the air and chemtrails are in the air. So, who knows? All right. So, I need the worship band to bring it down a notch, nice and gentle. We're going to get into it. Get your Bibles out, please and thank you. I'm going to do a standalone video, probably after this video, on the Bible that I use and why. Because every week I address this question, and yet every week I get this question more than the week before. So, in short, brief, this is the Scriptures. It's from the Institute for Scriptural Research, the ISR, see right there. It is a literal translation from the original Hebrew to the English, so it's been stepped on less than like the King Jimmy Bible or the NIV or anything like that. So it's a literal translation from the original Hebrew source text to English. So that's one. It preserves the name of the deity too. Jesus is Yeshua or Yehoshua, depending on who you ask. And the Father, God, is Yahweh or Yahweh or Yehovah, depending on who you ask. But that's in here. Rather than the Lord in all caps or Jesus, you have Yeshua and Yahweh, Yehovah, pick your pronunciation, in here, which I like. And then the third thing that I love, and I've said it way too many times, but apparently I need to keep saying it. In the New Testament, for example, here in Matthew 4, right? When Yeshua or anybody else speaks in the New Testament, and it's the Old Testament, it's in bold. And so you can see right here, hey, they're preaching Old Testament. And then it gives you the reference underneath that. Here's the book, the chapter, and the verse. And so this translation for me proves that the only thing that separates the New Testament and the Old Testament is that one very thin white blank page in between the two. And we have what I call a whole Bible approach. That's what we do. And this Bible for me illustrates that it's legitimate, that it's not just my opinion that the Old Testament informs the New Testament and that the New Testament fulfills the Old Testament. It's fact. It's right here. And it's shown that, hey, when Yeshua preaches, when he's teaching people, what he's teaching them is the Torah. It is the law of Moses that was codified by Moses on command of the Father for the instruction and teaching of the Israelites to conduct themselves in such a way that the Father will bless them, that they are pleasing in his eye. And so I get the question or comment all the time of, hey, you know about salvation, right? You don't need to do that. Yeah, I do know about salvation, and I am blessed to be saved by the atoning sacrifice of Messiah. And I don't discount that at all. That is the cornerstone of our faith here is, yes, first and foremost, Yeshua. First and foremost, Messiah. And salvation is only through his atoning sacrifice. But you can be saved and be miserable because you're not experiencing the blessings of the Father. And you can experience blessings by keeping the law, the Torah, and not be saved as well. So it's a double-edged sword here. For me, my interpretation of this book and the convictions that are written on my heart is that salvation is through Yeshua and blessings are by obedience. That obedience brings blessing, and that's my personal truth, that's my testimony, and it's my experience in life, and what I do is share that with y'all, and then we can back that up with what it says here in the Word. So yeah, I don't have to do this. I don't have to have a high quality of life. I don't have to love the people around me. I don't have to be prospered and blessed in everything that I do. I don't need to have my way paved for me by the hand of the Most High. I don't need to live a healthy lifestyle and conduct myself as an upright and integral man. I don't need to do any of that. I don't need to do that. However, but if I do, it will go well for me. And when it goes well for me, the Father stretches out his hand and he blesses. And he says, I see you, son. You're doing a good job. Keep up the good work. So, with that being said, we're picking up in Exodus 22. We left off at the end of 21 last week. You can go back and check that out from last week. If you're new to this video, there are many people by the hand of the Father, thousands each week, that are coming to this channel. And lots of people have said, you know, I thought you were just some kind of, you know, egotistical prepper guy, and then I saw you reading the Bible. Thank you. Well, don't thank me, thank him, because this works because he is who he is, not because I am who I am. But if you've back in your Bible for the first time in a while, we have a playlist here called Shabbat. Go to that playlist, and we literally started Genesis 1. Genesis 1:1, in the beginning Elohim, in the beginning God. And we've read straight through. Now we're in Exodus 22. So if you want to go line by line with us, you can do that there in that playlist, starting at Genesis 1. And it is my intention that we will continue to do this until we're at the very back of the book, the very end of it, from cover to cover. That's what we're going to do here, doing this every Shabbat morning, until such a time as we achieve that goal. Then we'll orient and move on with whatever the next thing is. So, that noise is my son over there with a stick. Okay, go Shabbat. He's not working. I guess he can gather sticks without getting stoned on the Sabbath. So, or I'll have to go stone him after this. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have that legalism versus grace argument after this. All right, Exodus 22. Chemtrails. When a man steals an ox or a sheep and shall slaughter it or sell it, he repays 5 cattle for the sheep. We already did this. Exodus 23 is where we're beginning. 23, 24. Do not bring a false report. Do not put your hand with the wrong to be a malicious witness. Lots of people, again, this is where we are right now in the book, is an extrapolation or digging deeper on the 10 commandments, which is thou shalt not lie, right? No, it's thou shalt not bear false witness. There's a difference. Thou shalt not bear false witness. And so there's a connotation there that gets a lot of people jammed up, is that to who? Well, amongst the Israelites, okay, the whole lying thing, if it's expedient for me to lie to protect your life, there's no judgment there, right? And this is kind of the Midrash interpretation of this, which I'm not a huge fan of the Midrash and the teachings of the rabbis over the millennia, but it's there and it is a source that we can pull from if we need to. But the idea there is, don't bear false witness. So if somebody's being judged, don't say, hey, I know you did this thing, when you didn't. Because now they're going to suffer judgment unduly because you bore false witness. The lying thing is, yeah, you could easily interpret that as don't lie today, but that's not what it actually says. It says don't bear false witness. And then it goes further here to say, don't put your hand with the wrong to be a malicious witness. Don't join up with these other guys who are also saying these same things, who are bearing false witness. This is straightforward teaching. Do not follow a crowd to do evil, nor bear witness in a strife, so as to turn aside after many, to turn aside what is right. This is like people rioting. Do not follow a crowd to do evil. Okay, straightforward. If everybody jumps off a bridge, would you jump off a bridge with them? No, Mom, I'm not an idiot. Well, prove it. Don't jump off the... Thanks, Mom. Great life advice. I've never looked at a bridge and thought, I'm going to jump off of that right now. I'll just go, right? Thank you, Mom. It worked, right? Clearly this thing worked. But that's what this is saying. Do not follow a crowd to do evil. And I've talked before about one of the things that I love about Exodus, and especially when we get to Deuteronomy, is how straightforward the teaching is. What should we do? Did you steal his goat? Yep. Okay, you owe him 2 goats. Did a wolf steal his goat? Yep. Okay, you owe him 0 goats. Like, and we can extrapolate this in today's life. Maybe it's not your goat, maybe it's your weed whacker. Like if I borrow your weed whacker and you know there's something wrong with it, and if it breaks, it's your fault, not mine. If it's good and it breaks in my hand, I owe you one. And so this is the expansion of this teaching the 10 Commandments that we're getting into now. Do not favor a poor man in his strife. And when you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall certainly return it to him. That's deep. Your enemy's ox, not like your best buddy's ox. Like, yo, that's Jim's ox, dude. Why are you in the road? Well, I'll bring you back to Jim's house. No, your enemy's ox, which is very ecclesiastical. There's a time to fight and there's a time to not fight, right? Pick your battles. So, because think about the downstream effects if you see that ox, you don't return it or you take it as your own. Now we're feuding. You could have just returned it to me. We don't have a problem now. When you see the donkey of him who hates you lying under its burden, you shall refrain from leaving it to him, and you shall certainly help him. So, if this guy's donkey is overloaded, can't get up, can't do the work, you need to help him, even if it's your enemy. That's deep. That's deep. And these are instructions from the Father about how we are to conduct ourselves to be pleasing in his eye. Do not turn aside the right ruling, the judgment of your poor in his strife. Okay? Help that guy. Keep yourself far from a false matter. Wow. Facebooked lately? Yeah? People talking rumors and trash on the internet? Keep yourself far from a false matter. And do not kill the innocent and the righteous, for I do not declare the wrong right. Do not kill the innocent and the righteous. I'm looking at you, Virginia, New York, all these other states. Total BS. The fact that somebody has to tell you do not kill the innocent and the righteous, it's insane. It's insane, and I will say it until the day that I die. It's absolutely insane. You don't get to kill people because it's inconvenient for you. It's ridiculous. And it's right here. It's right here in Exodus. Do not kill the innocent. Okay. As if we needed to clarify, there it is. Do not kill the innocent. Do not take a bribe, for a bribe blinds the seeing one and twists the words of the righteous. Amen. Did you not get my email? Do not take a bribe, right? Yeah, because once you get money involved, you start thinking about the money, not about what your convictions are and what your truths are and where your loyalty should lie. You think about, well, if I had that money, I could buy that piece of land over there. I'd get a new pickup truck or fix this damn bridge for once and for all, right? But now you start to compromise. Well, I could use that money to bless people too and do the Father's work. You could. You could. Or you could just go do the Father's work. You just go to Florida this coming weekend when you're going to be watching this and go feed 20 to 30,000 people, which we're going to do, which is awesome, right? And so, and that by doing creates an opportunity for many people have stepped up and said, hey, we want to help you do that. Many dozens of people have stepped up and been like, either monetarily, we want to fund the reverend, we want to fund you, we want to come help you, we're going to rebuild that church that's there. It creates an opportunity where maybe if you don't have the money or the bribe or whatever to fund these things that are in your brain, you just start putting action to your ambition and people show up out of the woodwork, and courage begets courage. They see you stepping out in faith and they come alongside you and go, I don't know what's going on other than I like what you're doing, I want to help. So, and do not oppress a sojourner, as you yourselves know the heart of a sojourner, because you were sojourners in the land of Mitzrayim, in Egypt. Don't be bad to the people who are traveling through the land, because you yourself were people traveling through the land. That's a really good principle, you know. If you now find yourself in a successful station in life, don't be bad to the people around you who aren't quite there, because at some point you were them too. Or you see some guy who's strung out on the street, some addict who's barely got his stuff together. That was me at one point. Who am I to be bad to that guy? Like, that guy needs love. Just because I don't want to give it to him or I'm not in that position of life anymore doesn't mean it's not my job to go help him. So this is a lesson on perspective right there. Don't forget where you came from. And 6 years you are to sow your land and shall gather its increase. But in the 7th year, this is the Shemitah. In the 7th year you are to let it rest and shall leave it, and the poor of your people shall eat it. So you let it rest, it self-seeds. What grows back, you don't reap. I don't reap, you don't reap. Whoever needs food, they go reap it. And then what's left over after there, it tells us that's for the animals. Okay? And so that gives the land, it's a Sabbath on the land. It gives the land an opportunity to rest. And that's actually extremely sound agricultural doctrine. Imagine that. Excuse me. And what they leave, the beasts of the field shall eat. Do the same with your vineyard and your olive yard. Olive yard? Olive yard? It's a word, right? Olive yard. Vineyard and olive yard. 6 days you are to do your work, and on the 7th day you rest, in order that your ox and your donkey might rest, and that the son of your female servant and the sojourner be refreshed. Again, a foot stomp here. In the mouths of 2 or 3 is a thing established. Well, it says over and over in this book, 6 days you are to labor, comma, and then on the 7th you rest. And so that's a double-edged sword as well. You should rest on Shabbat. On the Sabbath, you should take a Sabbath and rest. And everybody else should as well, which is why the son of your female servant and your ox and everybody, all people rest on the Sabbath. But 6 days ye shall labor. That doesn't mean 2 days part-time ye shall labor and then 4 days you sit on your couch and eat Cheetos and drink Mountain Dew. Okay? 6 days ye shall labor. Get after it. Get up, get after it. Go make stuff happen. Like, and I run into a lot of people, they're like, I don't know why I can't sleep. Not you, not me. I know why we can't sleep. They're like, but I don't know why I can't sleep. Well, what did you do today? Well, I sent a couple emails, looked at my phone all day, played some video games. Like, you're not tired. That's why you can't sleep. Go get tired. Go ruck, go lift logs, go split firewood, do push-ups, do crunches, do leg lifts, go run, put on a plate carrier, do jumping jacks, do burpees. I mean, just do something that works this body out. Go labor 6 days a week. And guess what? I bet you'll sleep. You'll sleep. When I am physically tired, it doesn't matter what's going on up here. My body switches off. And so I have to. There are days that I have to. If I haven't exercised that day, I can't sleep. It's a direct correlation for me. I have to be tired at the end of the day, and I fall asleep and I stay asleep. So 6 days, get after it. On the 7th, rest. And when you rest, that's not, now see, Yeshua taught, the Sabbath was made for man, not the other way around. But you should rest. Physically rest. Go out of your way to not have to do strenuous, laborious things, but also ordain that time to the Father. This is the day on Sabbath that you invite an honored guest, aka the creator of the universe, into your house and into your heart repeatedly every week, that you would be indwelt here in me, indwelt here on this land, okay? And you honor that, and you spend time with him in communion, in prayer, in praise, reading his word, talking with him, leading your family, leading your friends, having conversations. So it's not just labor 6 days a week, the 7th day sit on your couch, eat Cheetos, drink Mountain Dew. No, on the 7th day, you be mindful of the Most High, you read his word, and you talk with him, and you give praise to him. So, expanding upon the Sabbath yet again. And in all I have said to you, take heed. And in all I have said to you, take heed. And make no mention of the name of other mighty ones, let it not be heard from your mouth. The first commandment, there is no God but God. The end. 3 times a year you are to celebrate a festival to me. Now, we can go again. Deuteronomy 16, 1 through 17 outlays what those feasts look like. Guard the festival of matzah. 7 days you are to eat unleavened bread, as I commanded you at the time appointed in the new moon of Aviv, for in it you came out of Mitzrayim. So you are doing this in remembrance of, this is Pesach, Passover, which starts the festival of unleavened bread, the festival of matzah. So Passover is 1 day, the festival of unleavened bread is another 7 days after that. And so you party on matzah, it's a festival, it's a party for a week. It's pretty cool. And do not appear before me empty-handed. I will not give to God that which costs me nothing. It's a festival, you bring an offering, okay? And you give it to the Father. Why? Because sacrifice has to cost you something. It's why people don't value something that you just give them. If they have no skin in the game, they don't value it. And that's part of the dichotomy here between grace and law. Because the law requires something of us. No, we can never adequately meet the demands of the Creator. We can't. That's why we have a Messiah. That's why we have an intercessor. But it forces me to be a better version of me, to give up something of me, to die daily to myself, and to lift up my cross and bear it willingly to be more like Messiah, who is my ultimate arbiter of truth, who is the person, the man, the God made flesh in man, who walked out what this thing is supposed to look like and how this works. What this human experience should look like and how best to do it to be pleasing to the Most High. So in order for me to do that, I have to give up something of myself. I have to sacrifice this thing to be more like this thing and to get closer to Him. Okay? So, you make a sacrifice, do not come to me empty-handed. And the festival, the best. The festival of harvest, the first fruits of your labor, Shavuot, okay? This is your spring wheat, when you have sown in the field, and the festival of ingathering, this is Sukkot, or the festival of booths, or festival of tabernacles, Sukkot, S-U-K-K-O-T, which is at the end of the year. This year is in October, first 2 weeks of October. And when you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field, 3 times in the year all your males are to appear before Master Yahweh. These are the appointed times. These 3 times. All your males are to appear. And in fact, there's other teaching here in the book that says when your men go, that the Father will see that and bless it and protect your fields, protect your flocks, protect your women, that you'll be good. So, bring the first fruits, bring the first of the first fruits of your land to the house of Yahweh, your Elohim. Do not cook a young goat in its mother's milk. Now that little phrase right there is something that's got people sideways many a time. Why would I cook that's disgusting, a young goat in its mother's milk? And the long and short of it is, as I understand it based upon my research, was that it was a delicacy where they would take a fetal goat and simmer it in the milk of the mother. And it's fancy, or it was really fancy. It was a delicacy. And what the Father's teaching here is, and see, the Orthodox kosher will not combine milk and meat for this reason, because of that line right there. So the orthodoxy says, again, imperfect man trying to interpret a perfect God. The orthodoxy says you just don't combine milk and meat together. We don't do that. Hey, maybe they're right. But there's a lot of teaching that says the idea behind this is don't get fancy. That's a fancy meal. It's a disgustingly fancy meal. Don't do that. Don't go looking for these delicacies, right? What should light us up is not that. It's this. Okay? It's the simplicity of living a good life. This is where it starts to get interesting. See, I am sending a messenger before you to guard you in the way, the way, the truth, the life. Messenger, capital M, which is the Hebrew malach, which means messenger, which is often translated as angel. Capital M, messenger. Remember the capitalization. To guard you in the way and to bring you into the place I have prepared. Be on guard before him, capital H. Obey his voice, capital H. Do not rebel against him, capital H, for he, capital H, is not going to pardon your transgression. For my name is in him. Who is this messenger? But if you diligently obey his voice and shall do all that I speak, then I shall be an enemy to your enemies and a distresser to those who distress you. For my messenger, capital M, shall go before you and shall bring you into the Amorites and the Hittites and the Pezerites and the Canaanites and the Hivites and the Jebusites, and I shall cut them off. This messenger is Yeshua. This messenger has appeared over and over in the Old Testament already, in the form of Melchizedek, who comes down and blesses Abraham, in the form of the Creator, who comes and wrestles with Jacob and names him Israel. Yeshua, this messenger, and this is not my opinion, although I ascribe to this particular teaching. There's a lot of opinion and teaching on this, that this is Yeshua in the flesh, and that many a time in the Old Testament, Yeshua is meeting with the patriarchs and guiding them on their way. The way, the truth, the life. That boy's going for a hike. So, bearing in mind that this is Yeshua, let's read that again. See, I am sending a messenger before you to guard you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Be on guard before him and obey his voice. Do not rebel against him, for he is not going to pardon your transgression. For my name is in him. But if you diligently obey his voice and shall do all that I speak, then I shall be an enemy to your enemies and a distresser to those who distress you. For a messenger shall go before you, yada, 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 and I shall cut them off. This is Yeshua we're talking about. Do not bow down to their mighty ones, nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but without fail overthrow them, and without fail break down their pillars. And you shall serve Yahweh your Elohim, and he shall bless your bread and your water, and I shall remove sickness from your midst. No, none shall miscarry or be barren in your land, and I shall fill the number of your days. We've talked often about miscarrying. We've talked often about fertility and people who are coming back to the way and keeping commandments. All of a sudden, they have unexplained fertility. And it's not like my opinion of this. I've gotten dozens of emails to this effect. We couldn't get pregnant. We started keeping Torah. Bam, we're pregnant. Cool. And I truly believe that's one of the reasons that the Father tells us over and over again, don't engage in this pagan idolatry stuff, because most of the pagan idolatry stuff revolves around fertility, and he foot stomps that and goes, listen, this is mine. The first thing I ever told y'all when you were people was, be fruitful, multiply. Hashtag go team. Like, go do it, right? And so he reminds us over and over again, you're mine. I created you wonderfully and fearfully in my image. I know how this thing works. And if you keep my ways and turn your face to me, I will turn my face to you, extend my hand, and I'll make sure that you're fertile. I mean, bro, it's all through this book, over and over and over again. So, I shall send my fear before you, and shall cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I shall send hornets before you, and shall drive out the Hivite and the Canaanite and the Hittite from before you. He's clearing out the land. I shall not drive them out before you in 1 year, lest the land become a waste and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. So a little bit at a time. A little bit at a time. As there's a need, a little bit at a time. I'll clear some way for you. Little by little, literally here, verse 30. Little by little I shall drive them out from before you until you have increased and you inherit the land. And I shall set your border from the sea of reeds to the sea of Philistines, and from the wilderness to the river, for I shall give the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. Do not make a covenant with them, nor their mighty ones. Let them not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me when you serve their mighty ones, when it becomes a snare to you. There's a teaching in there about who you associate with. Be careful who you hang out with. that you might be on the path, I might be on the path, you might be on the path, but outside influence can grab you and pull you away again. There's a lot of the self-help business world, there's a teaching that you, me, you are the conglomeration of the 5 or 6 people you spend the most time with. And if you're trying to get better and spend more time in this and be closer to the Father, if the people you're hanging out with are detrimental to that, you're going to have a harder time than if the people that you're hanging out with are encouraging that. And so you want to be careful not to get caught in a positive feedback loop where everybody around you is all telling you the same thing and you're not feeling it here or here. It has to be organic. It has to be legitimate. But if you're hanging out with a bunch of scumbags, don't be surprised if you're a scumbag. You want to be successful? Hang out with successful people. You want to be right with the Father? Hang out with people who are right with the Father. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Broken vessel status. We've talked about this. So, 24. And to Moshe, he, capital H, said, he, this is Yeshua. And to Moshe, capital H, he said, come up to Yahweh, you and Aaron, Nadab and Abihu, and the 70 of the elders of Israel, and you shall bow yourselves from a distance. But Moshe shall draw near to Yahweh by himself, and let them not draw near, nor let the people go up with him. Yeshua's walking with them. Moshe and Aaron, and 70 of the leaders of Israel. The 70 nations that come from the 12 tribes that we've already covered all this. And he says, look, we're going to go up to where you can see up there is Yah. Moshe, you're going to go up there. The rest of y'all, stay here. And Moshe came and related to the people all the words of Yahweh. And words there is capitalized because who is the Word made flesh? This is Yeshua that we're talking about. Okay? And Moshe came and related to the people all the words of Yahweh and all the right rulings, the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice. That means in unison. They were in agreement. Okay? And said, all the words, capital, all the words which Yahweh has spoken we shall do. Let's get this straight. Yeshua is instructing Moshe in the ways of Yah, who is manifest up on this mountain that they're going to. They're all right here. And the children of Israel, me, you, the children of Israel say, all of these words and these instructions and judgments we will do. Hello, churchianity. Yeshua taught Moshe this, and all of the children of Israel, that's you, said all of these rulings and judgments and commands we will do. Okay, cool. Moving on. And Moshe wrote down all the words, capital W, of Yahweh, and rose up early in the morning and built a slaughter place at the foot of the mountain, an altar, and 12 standing columns for the 12 tribes of Israel. And he sent young men of the children of Israel, and they offered ascending offerings, those are burnt offerings, and slaughterings of peace offerings to Yahweh of bulls. And Moshe took half the blood and put it in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the slaughter place. Why the blood? Okay. All covenants from this part of the book to this part of the book are sealed with blood. The renewed covenant, Hebrews 8:6, 8:8, 8:10 that we talk about here, the renewed covenant, not the new covenant, the renewed covenant has Yeshua as mediator, the intercessor, the go-between between the Father and us. He stands in between us, and it's his blood, his atoning sacrifice that even gives us a chance to stand in judgment without being consumed. Okay? Because we're not perfect. He's the intercessor. He's the one who goes, listen, Father, I know he's a mess, but he's my mess. Father goes, all right, cool. Move it along. Well done, good and faithful servant, right? So, it's blood. It's a blood covenant. It literally means, Brit is the Hebrew word for covenant. Brit means to cut. When you cut, there's blood. The New Testament in Hebrew is the Brit Hadashah, the new cut, the New Testament is the new blood, the renewed covenant through Messiah. So why was there blood? Every time there's a covenant or the renewing of a covenant in this book, there is blood. Pesach, Passover, covered by the blood of the Lamb. Where have you heard that, church? Covered by the blood of Messiah. So that's why there's blood. And it's a cheap offering compared to the blood of Messiah. So let's get that straight too. It's not that lamb on Passover covers me for my sins. That's not how it works. It's a deep reminder of how cheap this physical existence is compared to what our true spirituality and potential is through Yeshua. Do this in remembrance of. It's like that little glass of wine and that little wafer. Whether you believe in transubstantiation or not, man, they represent the body and blood of Christ. Okay? Every time there's a covenant, there's blood. That's the way that's the way it works. It's like a blood pact. You and me make a pact, there will be blood, man. Like blood brothers. You ever heard the saying we're blood brothers? That means inseparable. Can't be broken. Brit, to cut. That's why there's blood. That's what Moshe is doing with the blood. And Moshe took half the blood and put it in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the slaughter place. He's anointing it. Okay? And he took the book of the covenant that he just wrote. This is what it looks like, this first part here. He took the book of the covenant, blood, and he read in the hearing of the people. And they said, all that Yahweh has spoken, we shall do and obey. They're foot stomping it again. Because 24:3, all the words which Yahweh has spoken, we shall do. Okay? 24:7, all that Yahweh has spoken, we shall do and obey. And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people as a seal of that covenant with the Father. All that Yahweh says we shall do and obey. Here's the blood. Okay? And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people and said, see the blood of the covenant which Yahweh has made with you concerning all these capital W words. And Moshe went up, and also Aaron and Nadab and Abihu or whatever, and 70 of the elders of Israel. This is important. And Moshe and Aaron and these two other guys and 70 elders of Israel. They went up from where they were. They're now approaching the mountain where Yahweh, the creator of the universe, is indwelt. He's making himself manifested there. They're not there. They're going to there, okay? They went up and they saw the Elohim of Israel, and under his feet like a paved work of sapphire stone, and like the heavens for brightness. And yet he did not stretch out his hand against the chiefs of the children of Israel. And they saw Elohim, and they ate and drank. This is actually a pretty difficult passage, because it's kind of nonsensical if you don't understand what came before it and what comes after it. They're going up. The Father tells Moshe, no man can look upon my face and live. What are they looking at? They are with Yeshua. The messenger of the Most High is with them. The messenger of the Most High, Yeshua, is with Moshe right here where he's writing this book of the covenant. When they're making this blood offering, they are with Yeshua. Yeshua says, nobody comes to the Father but through me. They're with Yeshua, looking on the face of the Father. And they ate and drank. They're feasting. They're rejoicing. This is archetypical for our experience. Yeah, you can't look on the face of the Father and live. But you're covered by the blood of Yeshua through this covenant. And we get to rejoice because of that. And so without that context, again, the New Testament fulfills this Old Testament. And understand that fulfill, the word there is pleirahu, which is Greek, which doesn't necessarily mean the end. It means the embodiment of. So when Yeshua says, I came not to do away with the law, but to fulfill it, it doesn't mean end of the story. It means to embody it, to be it. So these guys had the opportunity to look upon the Father and lived because Yeshua was there and was being the mediator of this covenant. Hebrews 8:6, 8:8, 8:10. And they rejoiced and they had a feast. I would have. Hell yeah, I'm partying, man. That's awesome. Right? To be in the presence of Yeshua and the Creator and Moshe. And understand this too, when we get into the New Testament, which we will, when the Pharisees and the Sadducees are like, who the hell is this guy? He says, man, if you knew Moshe, you'd know me. Look at the archetype here. Moshe is the mediator in between the children of Israel and the Father. Yeshua is the mediator in between us and the Father. So when Yeshua comes and does the work of redemption, okay, the atoning sacrifice of Yeshua, he's preaching Moshe. He's expanding upon the Old Testament teachings. He's like, it's not just enough to murder somebody, but you can murder somebody in your heart with your words. It's not enough to go lay with some guy's wife, but if you look at her, you've committed adultery. So he's taking it to the next level beyond Moshe, expanding upon those teachings. But the archetype stands as far as somebody who's bridging the gap in between us and the Father. So remember, the Israelites said, just in Exodus 20, they said, bro, that guy's scary. We don't want to talk to him. You go talk to him. We need somebody to stand in between us and him. So Moshe gets pushed into this position where he's the go-between between the Father and the Israelites. And now we have Yeshua as the complete and total embodiment, pleirahu, fulfillment of all of this, the embodiment of going, hey guys, I got this, watch this. This is how you do this life thing. And because you're gonna suck at it sooner or later, you're gonna mess it up, I got you covered, you're mine. So when dad yells at you, it's okay, because you're mine. Whew. All right. And Moshe arose with his assistant Yehoshua, which is Joshua, which is the same name as Yeshua, which literally means salvation. Funny how the Hebrew works, right? No. They're two separate books. One has nothing to do with the other. The Old Testament's for the Jews, the New Testament's for the Christians. Wrong. And he said to the elders, wait here for us until we come back to you, and see Aaron and Hur are with you. Whoever has matters, let him go to them. Okay, he's like, I'll be back. I'm taking Yehoshua. I'm taking Joshua up the mountain. Aaron and Hur are here if you guys have issues. They're in command. You go see them. And Moshe went up to the mountain, and a cloud covered the mountain. And the esteem of Yahweh dwelt on Mount Sinai, and the cloud covered it for 6 days. And on the 7th day, he called to Moshe out of the midst of the cloud, he being Yahweh. So they're in waiting. They wait 6 days. On the 7th day, the Father's like, come. And the wind turned my page. And the appearance of the esteem of Yahweh was like a consuming fire on the top of the mountain before the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moshe went into the midst of the cloud and went up into the mountain. Here we go. And it came to be that Moshe was on the mountain 40 days and 40 nights. The end of 24. 40 days, 40 nights. Where have we heard that before? The temptation of Yeshua, who's in the wilderness 40 days, 40 nights. Archetype, okay? Fulfillment of, embodiment of. Yeshua is tempted 3 times by the Nachash, El Satan, the enemy. Turn these stones into bread, jump off this building and not die, right? Stand upon this mountain, view the entire world. And 3 times Yeshua resists him. You know, man must not live on bread alone, but on every word of the Father. Every word of the Father. That's a fun little snippet that a lot of people jump over. Of every word of the Father. oh yeah, but we're not under that covenant. And no, you're wrong. Sorry. I mean, I just feel that here. Every word of the Father. What happens after 40 days of temptation in the wilderness? Yeshua begins his ministry in earnest. And here we have Moshe. He's up on the mountain 40 days. Afterward, we'll see going forward, his mission begins in earnest. There's archetypes to this. Yeah. It's not that we have to do the law. Thank you, brother. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much. Water. Mucho apreciado, as they say in the Espanol. We don't have to do the law. Yes, we're covered by grace. Yep. I prefer to be blessed. I left churchianity early in my life because while there was salvation, there was no fruits, man. There was no blessing. There was a bunch of people faking it, and it was disgusting. And that people would play with the concept of salvation, that they would play with the concept of brotherly love, of being good to each other, just disgusted me. And truthfully, after that, I fell into a lot of those same traps because I'm just as broken and messed up as those people are. And it took me a long time to realize, hey man, the Father doesn't make mistakes, but people sure do. And it's not the Father's fault that those people were doing a crappy job of being followers, in my estimation. And it's not his fault, the Father's fault, that I did a crappy job of being a follower also. But there comes a point, at least for me, there came a point where the realization was, it's not enough to just be saved. It's what James argues about. You know, show me the fruits. Faith without works is dead. However, right, lest any man should boast, by grace through faith, we're saved by believing on the name of Yeshua and his atoning sacrifice. Right. That gets us here. The next step, the next iteration is take that and do something with it. It's not alone. If all it is just right in here, cool. But you have to get to the next step where you can reach out and grab hold of somebody else and help this broken sinner with a terrible life get on with their mission, right? And this guy, and just, we had an elder at my old church who was awesome. And he said his life's mission was to come sliding in sideways into heaven, dragging as many sinners with him as he could. And I love that analogy because the visual to me is he's literally got armfuls of people just dragging them with him, right? And I do think, that's a great aspiration to me. But as you grab on to these other people and latch onto these other people because you're operating from a position of strength because you're blessed, the onus is to get them that salvation and then get them lifted up so where they're a force multiplier and they can go out and latch onto other people too and help them. And so, do I have to keep the law? No. But even Yeshua says, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. If you love me, keep my commandments. It's not hard. It's really not hard. And the downstream effects of obedience are completely manifested in my life. That what we have, that we are blessed to the degree that we have, is nothing short of a miracle. And that's my personal truth. That's my personal testimony that yes, first and foremost, Yeshua is HaMashiach. Jesus is the Christ. And none of us will ever see the face of the Father without him. Period. The end. We will never be good enough. We will never work our way into heaven. But as a gift of the Spirit through belief in him, I have his laws, Hebrews 8:10, written on my heart, and I am convicted to do them. James 3, be not just a hearer of the word, but a doer also. And as a result, by doing these things, the Father tells me, you will be blessed. Your obedience will be blessed. And here I stand. That's my testimony. That's what I have. And I really hope that that helps you guys out there in internet land. I'm blown away by the number of hits that we get on these videos. 2,000-ish hits a week these videos are getting with no... I'll never monetize these. That actually hurts the video and the algorithm if it's not monetized. But I'll never monetize these because this is the word of the Father, and I will not profit from the word of the Father. So being less viewable by the algorithm, they're still organically getting a couple thousand hits a week. And we get dozens of emails from that each week. And it's just incredible to me. And it's, again, it's not because I'm me, it's because he's him. And that if he can take this thing and turn this thing into something that can do this, you'd be amazed what he can do to you if you just let him drive the bus. Just see where it takes you. But you got to get in line with him first. And so, salvation through Yeshua, yes. Next, obedience brings blessing. So with that, Shabbat Shalom, y'all.